So the Buddha was in no way a dogmatic teacher. We can see that on many passages in the Buddhist scriptures. The Buddha, in fact, was known for a certain way of teaching, analytical way of teaching. He was not simply presenting so categorical, one-sided statements to be believed in, which is the often the feature of many other religions and belief systems. We can see that there was a lot of discussion going on among the monks in his time, discussion with other philosophers, wanderers of other sects, and the lay people. The monks were encouraged to just use their ability to think clearly and put their understanding of the Dhamma into words. That the Buddha himself demonstrated how to do that in many situations where he is discussing the Dhamma in different contexts. Now, in the history of Buddhism, we have the accounts of the first three Sanghayanas, or the first three councils which took place after the Buddha's parinibbana, his passing away. And it is interesting to know that around the time of the third council, which took place a couple of hundred years after the passing away of the Buddha, there was a big problem that arose among the Buddhist monks, the Sangha. And there was a council, the president of the council, a learned monk, was sort of asking the assembled monks, now what is the Buddhist teaching, what is the characteristic of the Buddhist teachings? And those who said the Buddha taught a vibhajyavada, he was an analytical teacher, somebody who analyzes and differentiates. Those were considered the true Buddhists, the true Buddhist monks, and the others who proposed some kind of theory, or the Buddha taught this or that, as a kind of a belief or theory, because they came maybe from another religious tradition and just wanted to take over the Buddhist Sangha and cause trouble. So those monks were expelled. They were not considered the real Buddhists. So that's interesting, that the characteristic of the Buddha's teaching was known to be this vibhajyavada. Vibhajya comes from this word to analyze, to break down into constituent parts, to differentiate. There are books in the Pali Canon called the Vibhanga, which are concerned with distinguishing and analysis. And we see that as the characteristic feature of the Buddha's teaching style, that often he will just say, well, monks, there are 4 types of this, or 5 people like that, and then he will analyze them according to certain characteristics, positive and negative, and internal and external, and past, present and future. So in many ways, so that it's quite clear what is meant, and so that the teaching really applies to the time and place and the situation, rather than presenting this kind of ideological, oversimplified, overgeneralized universal truth, which is supposed to apply everywhere universally, like many of the statements of the other religions. religions. So Vibhajyavada, analytical teaching, a very important feature of Buddhism. And ideology, on the other hand, is just the complete opposite of that. It will be very resistant to analysis and sort of examining the basic assumptions of an ideology. That's a no-no, that's something which is not allowed, right? So, ideologies are usually based on a few simple statements, basic assumptions, and then on that basis, more other ideas, more complex ideas are built up. But it is not possible to review and re-examine those basic assumptions. Now, just consider for yourself if you know some, say, Buddhist group, Buddhist tradition, lineage, system of meditation. Do they really respect those qualities of the Dhamma mentioned before? Inviting inspection, investigation, see for yourself, to be known individually for yourself, not dependent on time, or are they simply making you believe in their particular ideology? That means a certain simplified, oversimplified way of presenting reality. Now that's a question each of us has to ask for ourselves and decide for ourselves, and continually keep doing that, because it's a responsibility we all have on this path. The Buddha said, don't just accept even my own words simply on trust. He said you should accept my teachings, my words, the same way that a goldsmith carefully examines a piece of gold as he is working with it, making some piece of jewelry out of it. He'll be carefully looking at it and examining it and re-examining it. So in that way, you should treat my own teachings, right? So that's a kind of a way of using the Dhamma that the Buddha would encourage us to do, and not taking simply an article of belief, a certain statement that is taken on trust, and mistaking it for the truth. And the Buddha calls this in the Janki Sutta, in the Majjhima Nikaya, he calls this safeguarding the truth, saying, being aware, I have this kind of belief, this is my faith, this is my conviction, but that's merely on the level of faith, and not overextending that kind of faith into the sphere of knowledge, because knowledge has not been reached yet. A direct realization is something beyond that, and the Buddha makes that very clear. We should separate these two things, what is direct knowledge and what is faith. And also when teaching the Dhamma, just also not trying to impress that on other people, just because I believe something, then appearing as if I had already realized that, and therefore you should also believe it, but just stating the things clearly as they are, and in that way we shall remain true to the qualities of the Dhamma.